right, you guys, so I did not think I was gonna drive another Mark 8, but the one behind me is a DSG Golf R. So it will complete the trifecta. I guess it's not a trifecta, 4 cars. I've driven a manual GTI, I've driven a DSG GTI, I've driven a manual Golf R. So here behind me, this completes the package. I'll have like a fully well-rounded kind of take on the Mark 8 after this, I feel like. And to top it all off, this one's been tuned. Later in the video, we're gonna talk to the owner, go for a drive, and we'll see how it does. And that's in the wet too.
Yup.
We actually get really good grip.
And the brakes too?
Oh yeah. Yeah, when you're not ready for the brakes. Brakes feel obviously totally different as a passenger.
Oh yeah.
Tons of spin. Tons of spin.
Shit.
That's crazy. What kind of tires do you have on here?
The stock one, Ventus S1s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. Yeah, it's fighting.
It's fighting for traction,
you could feel the diff.
Yep.
You could feel it all kind of working, and wow. This one's a 2022. So I guess some of the other years had gloss black, piano black in the center console here. This is kind of a matte finish black. No scratches, no smudges. Another big change, 2024, like I mentioned last video, the last year for a manual GTI or Golf R. That's it, no more manual fast Golfs. All right, it's pouring out, which is a great time to turn off traction control. Just kidding, but we are going to put ESC in sport so we can play around a little bit. Okay, we're gonna drive in Nürburgring mode. What that does is prepare you for the Nürburgring, which is a little bit bumpy. So it softens up the adaptive dampers a little bit, which this one has been fitted with. That's an option for the R. And then of course, Al's gone ahead and put racing line springs. So it is very important that these springs do not basically make the dampers obsolete, as it were. You need the dampers to be able to still do their job. Feels pretty good so far. Definitely stiff, but still, you know, it's not bouncy. There's a little bit of bounce, but it's not much. It's actually soaking up the bumps fairly well here. Tons of pops from that Miltech exhaust. Very isolated. The Mark 8 is so far to the refinement scale. Like if there's a 0 to 10 out of a hot hatch refinement scale, the Mark 8 is a 10. And as far as the manual goes, I mean, VW is probably like, yeah, we did all that we could do with a manual driver's car hot hatch like this. Transmission is great. Big pop. All right, we're just gonna go from a dig here. Wow. Didn't do launch control that time. First gear, definitely limiting torque a little bit. Second gear, just as soon as it shifts, you get pinned back in your seat. That is actually insane. Third gear feels like it pulls just as hard as second gear. No drama. Yeah, second gear is, wow, that's incredible.
Yo, my name is Al. This is my 2022 Mark 8R. She's nice. The first day I got this car, I was, I don't know, popping a freaking UE in Calgary. And I'm used to GTI, just like, you know, kind of like understeering to the corner. I was like, oh, whatever, it's just a, you know, it's the same form factor. And I kind of like cranked it, and this thing literally like went sideways in the middle of the street. I had to like correct myself. I almost shut my pants, but like, hey, like we, c'est la vie, we learn everything as we go. It's fine, yeah. But it was fun, it was fun. My heart was going, so I think if a car doesn't elicit some kind of fear factor from you, then it's not fun, honestly. Like, so that's my thing. If you're not fucking just like, and your heart is just beating, then why do you have it?
100%.
Yeah. So basically, so change I've done is I've done the inventory intake, the BV downpipe, catted, multi exhaust, and the CTS intercooler. Lower down racing line springs, and that's about it. Right now, I know the Mark 8s, for me, I run up to like E50, E60 sometimes, but I'm not really on it. So I have a Unitronic Stage 1 Plus GBX file. From what I understand, is the torque comes on as you go up in the gears, right? So it doesn't give you full torque off the line, because that can be like too much torque, I guess, for the preset torque limiter of the DSG. But when you're up in the rev ranges, it does like carry that torque a little more higher, as opposed to just a low torque file where it's just low torque all the time, right? 91 is what I run in this car if I'm on a road trip and I'm not really on it. 93 in city all day. On E, this thing is freaking crazy. Like, it spins all fours, it's ridey, the exhaust pops. And I will say before he like goes out and y'all in comments, oh, pop and bang tune, the Mark 8R from factory has pops, all right? Yeah. I have a downpipe and a multi exhaust. So the pops you're gonna be hearing in this video are stock. They were not tuned in, they were not put in, they're stock. So don't come at me, go for VW.
Still not the greatest power steering, but it does, like the GTI, have variable ratio power steering. So basically the center of the rack on center is incredibly sharp, and then it loosens up a little bit so you can make those adjustments a little bit more forgiving. Oh yeah, there goes the rear end. That's what we were looking for. I'm kind of glad it's raining out. All right. When I drove the RS3 down in Vegas with Iros and Adam, that car we drove at like hot days, really sticky tires, so we needed a ton of space to really get the rear end out. But here, just half throttle, you can kind of skate the rear end around. That's awesome. If you had a blindfold on and dropped this car into the year 2005 and said, hey, this is a Golf? What? Wow. And I am so happy it's wet on the ground because the limits are so much more accessible. And to me, that's what a Golf is all about. That is the definition of a Golf, even in 2024. Is, hey, it needs to be accessible, it needs to be reasonably priced, which the Golf R is not, but at the level of performance, understandable, the rear diff, torque vectoring, the engine, interior, all that stuff, right? And it needs to be fast, you need to be able to tune it, and it needs to be a daily driver material. Previous, the only sketch factor you would get in a Golf would be lift-off oversteer, but now it's real oversteer. That is just incredible. Wow, there's a big bump. It soaked it up really well. Contact patch staying on the ground. Yeah, this is about as stiff as I would want a Mark 8 to be. Oh my, all right. Limits approached. Yeah, traction in sport mode does a great job. You know, I still feel like I'm in control, but when it really comes down to it, when the rear end steps out, the computer is still doing quite a bit. First gear there, just like half throttle, maybe 30 degrees of steering, and the rear end just wants to kick out. That is insane. This thing is so much fun. In terms of raw power, so I helped Adam from Van City Audi shoot a video a few months ago, a couple videos, comparing tunes on his Mark 8 GTI, a bunch of different companies, okay? The link, I'll leave that link in the description if you guys want to check it out. Really interesting, data-driven stuff. When we tried the Unitronic tune on that car, Stage 1 93 octane tune, we put down 320 wheel horsepower and 392 pound-feet in a GTI. Of course, the R comes with a slightly different turbocharger, different pistons, a little bit lower compression, add more boost, and just more power out of the box. This is rated at 380 wheel horsepower. Now on that GTI Unitronic tune, I remember boost coming in crazy early, like 2400 RPM. And then after that, it kind of dropped off around 4400 RPM. And all the tunes did that. Power kept increasing kind of, and there's a flat spot kind of around 5500 to redline of power, but torque fell off kind of around 4400. So we'll see how quickly it spools and kind of how that compares. Yeah, 3000. And it feels like it pulls right to redline, which is phenomenal. And once you're in boost threshold, like above 3000 RPM, when you just give it gas, the turbo's like right there. And that's one of the upsides of this engine, this tune, is the responsiveness, but it's also kind of a downside, and it's less pronounced here because the turbo is a little bit different. But in a GTI, and you can see this in the dyno graph, it's just like torque ramp up so quick, and then it just kind of falls off. This at least carries a little bit with the turbo a little bit more, and part of that, yeah, to compensate for the weight, but a better power band. I appreciate this power band a little bit more.
Yeah, so I had the 22 GTI before. It was also tuned. Pretty fun for what it was, but then at the end of the day, putting that power down was a real struggle. I will say it's more tossable, but this with the rear diff just makes it a whole different new car. And the more power you have, the better, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
The S3, yeah, it's the sedan version. It looks a little sleeker, but for me, it's just like that freaking rear diff is like priceless. Plus, it's a hatchback. Like, come on, like, it's a hatchback. It's a hatchback. Like, come on, like you have practicality and you have the speed to match up with it. Why not, right?
The GTI is a little bit more nuts when you put power into it because you have a little bit of torque steer. It's lighter. It definitely feels lighter, but on a rainy day like today, this is the one I would take. A little bit of turbo spool. The intake helps a little bit, just wakes it up a little bit. But it's not fake. It embraces the fact that it's not as raw as the older R32s. It's an honest car. It's not trying to be something it's not. What the DSG has done here more than anything compared to the manual, it feels like an Audi. It feels just like an Audi. If you were to just change the badge, this would be an Audi. If you want that rear diff, which the S3 does not have, and you're an Audi person, just change the badge. Just buy a Golf R, change the badge, game over. You've got yourself a baby RS3 Sportback, which we do not get here in North America. Of course, -1 cylinder, that's the big thing, right? But for price, the S3 and this are basically the same price, and yeah, the S3's got a nicer interior, but the Golf R has the rear diff. That's the most important part for us enthusiasts. Yeah, I mean, Audi doesn't need to make a Sportback because this exists. This is just a entry-level performance Audi. That's exactly what this is. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Really helps us out if you hit the like button as well. You can go hit up Al on Instagram. I'll put his stuff in the description. That's it. We'll see you soon.